Salam and hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you are all doing very well. Some of the most common fibroid questions that I have been getting lately include: what shrinks fibroids naturally? When will they shrink? How do I know, or how can I tell that my fibroids are shrinking? And there are dozens of videos that I can make and that I probably will make on the different literature that is out there, especially most recent literature on fibroids, as well as several patient case studies on fibroids, even my own personal experience with fibroids. And I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But first, in today's video, I want to talk about a really common question that I've been seeing lately, especially amongst women who are entering perimenopause or the menopause transition, so who are between the ages of 45 and 55, I would say. And that is, do fibroids shrink after menopause, or do they shrink during menopause? And it's an important question, and let's just dive in to see what the literature states. So first, it's important to understand why fibroids grow before menopause. So there are several reasons. So fibroids, just as the basic information, they are leiomyomas, and they are estrogen and progesterone dependent. So fibroids grow because they are dependent on these hormones, estrogen and progesterone. I'll leave a link to this video here that clearly explains this in detail if you need more information. So these hormones act like fuel, and this is why it's most common in women between, I would say, 30 and 40. According to the New England Journal of Medicine, Uterine Fibroids, this is why we see the increased growth of fibroids during this stage. And there are other literature and other books and sources that state the same thing. But it's important just to know, level set, why are fibroids growing out of control, or why are they appearing at such a high rate? Now, it's also important to know that what happens around menopause. So as our ovarian function declines, and this happens for all women who still have their ovaries, we see that estrogen and progesterone levels fall. We see a natural decline in our hormones based off of as we're getting older, based off of this menopause state of life. So many studies, including studies in fertility and sterility, show that fibroid volume decreases after menopause. And this was found to be in a 2010 study in fertility and sterility that found that fibroid regression is most common in women 2 years after menopause. So once estrogen levels and progesterone levels drop, many fibroids naturally shrink, and that is something that has been seen scientifically. Therefore, some women are actually looking to wait out doing anything with their fibroids, or just continue to try to naturally shrink their fibroids until they reach the menopause transition. But now let's talk about the reality of whether fibroids really shrink during this transition between the ages of 45 and 55, which are the most common years. I would say this is the most common age women experience the menopause transition. So let me just say that fibroid shrinkage varies woman to woman. It's important to know that some shrink significantly, others remain stable. Symptoms like heavy bleeding also improve because of the stoppage of the period or the menstrual cycle. But there have been some persistent fibroid symptoms, including pelvic pressure and frequent urination, which I want to caution you about. And this was found in Uterine Fibroid in the International Journal of Molecular Science. So I wanted to let you know that this is a source that you can link below if you are interested more in these bulk symptoms that still persist and why they still persist. So again, fibroids just don't disappear after menopause. They may shrink, but depending on the size and location, they can actually still persist with those symptoms of pressure, bloating, and discomfort in the pelvic region. I also want to take a moment in this part of the video to actually pause and talk to you about the stages of perimenopause or menopause and the fibroid impact. Now, I sourced this information from the Dallas Fibroid Center, which I will link below. They clearly state that menopause doesn't happen overnight. There is the perimenopause stage in which our hormones are really fluctuating. There is 1 month we might be okay, and then the next month we might be feeling so many symptoms of menopause. Now, These fluctuations in hormones can cause fibroids to grow or to shrink unpredictably. So symptoms like heavy periods and pelvic pain, which I just mentioned, may persist. Now there's menopause. Now menopause occurs after 12 consecutive months, one full calendar year of no menstrual cycle or no menses, no period. And this is what we clinically diagnose as having reached menopause. So estrogen levels drop significantly and we may see a reduction in fibroid size. Then there is postmenopause. Now, postmenopause, the fibroid growth usually stabilizes, but symptoms can persist, especially if a woman is taking menopausal replacement therapy or hormone replacement therapy. That's really important to note because I don't think that is talked about enough, is the impact of going back on hormones to manage menopause symptoms, how that actually impacts the body. So that's something to think about. Now let's talk about this in detail, the exceptions to the rule. Women on hormone replacement therapy or HRT may not see that much shrinkage. Some women may experience fibroid regrowth due to the increased hormone exposure. It is important for your healthcare provider, your doctor, your medical doctor, or your nurse to give you a further evaluation to rule out any other conditions, of course, before starting HRT or MHT. And also know that there are several resources you can look into. I'll try to link all of them below. So if you have the time to check these out for yourself and become, a little bit more well-versed in some of the clinical information that is impacting you, so that when you go to see your provider, you have some knowledge of what these symptoms look like, what you're experiencing, and that you can advocate for yourself when you go to the physician. I hear of so many women who are dismissed, and it's really disheartening. It's just like, why are you being dismissed if you're having real symptoms, and what can be done about it? So I hope that you will arm yourself with information and then, really advocate for yourself when you're going to see your physician. So if you're on HRT or MHT, fibroids may not shrink as much again. And if fibroids grow after menopause, it's something that's really important for you to see a provider about. I do want to say that I know it's not a conclusive answer as to whether your fibroids will shrink after menopause. You really have to take into consideration what you are taking in terms of medication and other hormones, but you also will need to consider that at this stage of life, you really need to have implemented a good system of nutrition, your diet, exercise, stress reduction, stress relief, proper sleep hygiene and sleep habits, and a whole host of other things that will make your livelihood conducive to living healthier and better. I talk about supplementation with vitamin D3. I talk about drinking green tea. I talk about different remedies that might help to balance your hormones as well as help to shrink fibroids naturally. And I'll leave that information for you below. I'll even link it in this video over here on one of the sides here. So it's important for you to just remember to advocate for yourself and think about holistically what you're doing if you're in between the ages of 45 and 55. If you're looking forward to fibroids shrinking, no menses, reaching a certain point in life where you have some things that you can not worry about anymore. And I understand that for a lot of you women that you're really looking forward to this time for several reasons, for several personal reasons. So leave a comment below if you feel comfortable, if your fibroids shrunk during the menopause transition or after the menopause transition, or if you're still experiencing, the discomforting symptoms of fibroids and what you're doing to manage it. I talk about different medications. I talk about different, procedures that a physician would provide, that a surgeon would provide if you elect to have that done. I also talk about natural remedies, which I just mentioned a couple of seconds ago, vitamin D3, green tea leaf extract, etc., etc. So I hope that this information has been beneficial for you in this video. I will be preparing more fibroid information for you. If you have a specific question, let me know down below and I will do some research, do some digging into what the literature states. I do thank you for watching and I shall see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.